Good morning. Again, this is Mary Tressel, and thank you so much for joining Armanino today for our webinar, Leverage the Out-of-the-Box BI Tools You've Already Got. All right, just before we get started, I'll give you a few tips on using your webinar pane. You'll see that webinar pane in front of you. Please note that the orange arrow will allow you to minimize or maximize the pane. If it is minimized, simply click on the orange arrow to bring it back. During the session, during our presentation today, throughout the webinar, feel free to submit any questions you have for our presenters. They will handle those questions at the end of the webinar as time permits. And all webinar participants will receive an email within the next 48 hours with a link to the recorded webinar and the PowerPoint slides. For your audio settings, if you're using your telephone to listen in on our webinar, please make sure you select Use Telephone. If you're listening through your computer speakers, please select Use Mic and Speakers. If you have the incorrect settings selected, it will produce an echo effect. And now I'd like to introduce our presenters. Our first presenter is Greg Lehman. He is a senior consultant with Armanino. He has more than 20 years of IT experience and has multiple Microsoft certifications, including BI, and he is also a Dun & Bradstreet MVP. Greg has supported clients such as Wells Fargo, Clorox, and Entropic in things such as planning, budgeting, and forecasting, marketing and sales analysis and reporting, and architecting BI solutions into software products. Our next presenter is Jeffrey Weyong, Director of Armanino's Business Intelligence Practice. His broad experience in all aspects of enterprise application development, systems integration, and BI within ERP and CRM systems. Jeffrey has managed Microsoft GP, AX, and CRM implementations, as well as the Microsoft Dynamics development team at Armanino. He's currently managing our very high-performing business intelligence technical team. And John Van Meter is a Microsoft Dynamics manager for sales and business development here at Armanino. He's been managing Microsoft Dynamics ERP and CRM software sales for 10 years. John's got extensive experience in designing solutions for mid-market clients in the high-tech and process manufacturing industries. He's on the front line with our clients, and he understands your specific reporting and analytic needs. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to John.
Well, thank you, Mary. So today we have a great presentation for you. What we wanted to do was give you a little bit of background just in terms of the market trends around business intelligence. And then we want to characterize a little bit about the types of tools that are out there and how we categorize them for the various user needs. Then we're going to go through a series of demonstrations to highlight those for you. And after that, we'd like to open it up to questions to make sure that we're able to help you guys as best we can.
All right, so what I'm going to do to provide some context a little bit about what we're going to be demoing here. Obviously, the webinar itself is titled Leverage Out-of-the-Box BI Tool You Have, so I would like to provide some context around what is business intelligence from our perspective. So in the simplistic form, what is BI is essentially getting insights from the data that you already have in a more effective and efficient way. So it simplifies information discovery and analysis for everyone within your organizations. So when you have a BI initiative, you might be synonymous, the term might be synonymous with reporting analytics, but it does help answers such as what happened, what is happening, what you expect to happen, and also answer some of the questions such as the why, the when, and the where. So the next one that I would like to share with you is some of the market trend that we've been seeing around business intelligence. And this is something that we have observed as well as backed by some survey results from Gartner. So there are three things that we would like to share with you. The first one is stack-centric. What we meant by that is the trend has been around for a while and it still stays true today. There are certain level of expectations that BI tools should be tailored to the system that you use today. So this level of expectation comes when you purchase a new system and you expect there would be BI tools that comes with it. So in the end, it's just leveraging what you already have today, what you purchased in terms of systems and platform. So this is an example of, for example, in this particular case, you have Microsoft Dynamics. you would expect that Microsoft BI tools would suffice and provide the needs that you have within your organization. So the next topic here, or the next trend that we're seeing, is business-focused buying. Some of the trend that we've seen in the past, when it comes to decisions of which BI tool to use, how to get information out of the system, how to disseminate information, and any other decisions around BI initiatives or activities have primarily been driven by the IT organizations. But we're seeing a bit of a shift in the trend. What used to be business users need a report, IT is responsible to make it happen. The trend has shifted, becoming more business user-driven initiatives. More BI initiatives are now led by business users and jointly supported by their IT organizations. So it becomes more of a partnership as opposed to someone has a need and throwing it over the fence to the IT organization. Decisions now are no longer made in vacuum. Everyone actually being part of the decision-making process. So it is not uncommon nowadays when we actually work and discuss BI initiatives with our clients, we're not just sitting across from IT organization only, but we're also sitting across from finance users, sales users, and any other departmental users that might be able to use the information provided by the BI tools. So in most cases as well, BI projects are nowadays approved and signed and budgeted by the business users. The third trend that we're seeing with the market here, we're also seeing an increase of BI users within the organizations. So with information easier to get out in the world, with the use of search engines, social medias, and any other platforms, the expectation comes the same way within organizations. BI now, it becomes more of a consumerization. Everyone expects within an organization that that information comes easily, especially when everybody is hungry for data and insights. When it comes to growing volume of data and variety of data available within organizations, as well as the soaring speed of business that requires it. Because of this, there's definitely a trend as well in the market where it becomes analytics-centric as opposed to reporting-centric. So in the past, BI has been synonymous with static reporting. Then this is also changing the expectation of the industry right now, that dynamic user interactivity is required while performing data discovery, eventually gaining insights out of those data discovery. So we also see, or as a result of this, companies have just started shifting their investment from a business user-led activity solutions in terms of analysis as opposed to the IT developed reporting solutions. So now it's more commonly seen that it becomes a self-service BI culture. So with that said, it doesn't mean that IT goes away from our perspective. Instead, there's a stronger partnership between the business and IT users. And we also see that IT is taking a much bigger role and focus around data modeling and data governance. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to John.
All right, thanks, Jeffrey. So, yeah, what Jeffrey was talking about was, the overall general trends of the business intelligence at a high level, and I think one of the things we really look at in the Microsoft world is that we try and categorize who these consumers of the data are. There is, that individual user that needs to have real-time, detailed, actionable data, and we really focus on that individual as more of a tactical, sense. How can they get data they need today to do their job and have it up to the minute and act upon that. The second set of users is more team or process focused, and we look at these as more operational. So this would be certain reports that are distributed out to a team on a scheduled basis. Every week you see the sales figures from last week. Every week you look at the inventory position. Various things that are specific, elements that the team is going to have a distributed report sent to them, and you're going to make your decisions as a team, act upon them as a team, align the organization as a team. The third set is more of an organizational focus, and that's more strategic. So it's something where you look at periodic reporting more as period over period, so quarter over quarter, year over year, being able to look at milestones, performance of actual to budget. Sometimes it's a longer term focus as what is your forecast, looking at historical to budgeted amounts. So the organizational focus really lends itself well to more key performance indicators over time. So to give a few examples of these various categorizations, we've got for that tactical or individual focus, some of the examples here are queries. So this is really that end user consumer of the data who wants to figure out how he's supposed to act in the short term. So predefined queries are one way to do that, so people saving their favorites or working from work queues, or more of an ad hoc query. What are the open purchase orders that haven't shipped that are over 2 days, 2 days past due. Those types of tools that users might want to have help them to meet their individual requirements. And then from an operational perspective, there is still a level of ad hoc reporting that needs to be performed. Another major area there is the statutory and financial reports, and one of the things that we see a lot of people using for that is certainly Management Reporter, as well as some folks do use Excel for that as well. And then in terms of charting and infographics, that really helps to align the overall organization from a visual perspective, something that's a little more appealing, communicates a message quickly. You could talk to a team in a PowerPoint presentation and give them an idea of how the organization's performing. And then your typical production reports, the SSRS type reports that are going to be scheduled and distributed to the team, or generated on demand. And then from an analysis perspective, we see that there are a series of more strategic elements that people are deploying from their standard solutions, and those would be key performance indicators. That is, you've established a baseline of what you expect, or what your goals are in the organization, and how you're performing against those. Usually with stop lighting or trending, some sort of visual indicator. Scorecards are really identify a series of those KPIs and other performance elements, and presented in a way that's just easy to consume. A lot of times, executives are looking at a snapshot of the organization and want to analyze the performance on a short-term basis, and so scorecards are a great way to do that, especially using the Sharepoint technologies to display this. And then from an ad hoc summarization exploration perspective, there's a lot of great tools that come out of the box with your Microsoft Dynamics solution in terms of cubes and other tools that we'll get into around Power Pivot and some of the new capabilities that Microsoft's really been investing in. And then, of course, your typical dashboards, which lend themselves towards bringing together all that information in a way that's easy to consume.
Okay, and with that, we're going to move over to Greg for our query demo.
Thank you. All right. So we're going to begin looking at the queries that are offered in business intelligence. We're going to be spending our time looking at Dynamics AX and a Dynamics GP environment. For AX, I have ended up having to do screenshots in my environment. I'm working on a laptop. I'm trying to run an enterprise operating environment on a laptop. So I ended up doing screenshots to make it more efficient for us. For GP, we're going to see about doing a live demo. I've been working through some technical issues, but I think I've got them resolved. So we're going to start now, and we're going to start looking at some screenshots of queues. Let me go ahead and show that now. All right, so right now you're looking at the AX Role Center. It's a dashboard. GP and AX both have dashboard environments available to them. Queues have been described as inboxes that are available to highlight KPIs that you're trying to monitor and to actionable items to act on. As you can see on screen here, we have budget revisions pending approval with a number 1 above it. That's the count of the budget revisions pending approval. So we see 1s and 8s. Notice down the lower right in the green box, we have open positions set at 23. There was a threshold set, and it throws up an exclamation mark identifying if a queue is outside the tolerances that you've predefined. So what I'd like to do right now is show you how simple it is to set up a queue and show you how it relates to KPIs. So these, as I said, these will be screenshots since this is coming out of the AX environment. But all you have to do is on that dashboard, there was the link at the bottom where you click and you say add a queue. And then you've got a list of available queues based on your security settings and what you have permission to see. And so, for example, I went in and said I'd like to get the fixed assets that were created but not acquired. And then I can give it a name, and I could change the name, I could rename it, whatever I want to do. So in this case, I capitalized the word not. On the next step is to pick which table you're sourcing this from and which value. So I could change what this queue is representing and change its label, essentially. So I have a whole assortment of tables as well as fields to choose from. And then once I do that, I can pick the threshold. Is it greater than or less than or equal to a certain value? And that will cause the exclamation mark to show up and alert me that I've got something to act upon. Now we're going to switch over to the Hyper-V running GP. Just a second. There we go. We're going to switch over to the Hyper-V running GP. And what I was going to do was show you a quick view of a smart list. I know a lot of you have been using smart lists. They're very powerful. Smart lists allow you to control your filters, your reports, your forms. As soon as this comes in here, we will be able to show that. It's fine. So we're going to go click on sales here. And while this is coming up, basically we have the same, GP and AX have the same navigational panel. Very similar kinds of information are available in the two ERP packages. Here we're looking at sales, and we're going to go in here and look at the customers. Right. And one of the neat things about a smart list is you can customize it so it fits your particular needs. So for example, if I always work with customers in the state of Washington, I can go in and do a search on Washington. So this will be the state field. Set it equal to WA for Washington. And it'll come back with the records. In this case, this is a demo database. There's one record for the state of Washington. So it comes back with my Washington customers. I can then add it to my favorites, give it a name like Washington customers. And I can use it in other forms and other queries. So we're going to just minimize this for a second. And we can look at transactions by customer. And it will automatically come in giving me the smart list that I had made the default. Well, my default smart list right now I've set to my Australian customers. I could change it to be my Washington customers, and now it comes back with just my Washington customers, and we can set it as a default if I always want to start up looking at Washington customers first. Now what I'd like to do is take you over and show you, just a second, I'd like to take you over and show you the ad hoc querying capabilities that are available in Excel. So we have Excel reports that are available out of the box with GP. These Excel reports are stored by series. They're also available in AX. They're also available in AX. And so each of these Excel reports are stored. They can be stored either in a shared location, can be stored in Sharepoint. They can also be stored in Sharepoint Online. So for example, to go into one of the reports, we can pick a report and double click on it, and it'll automatically open Excel. And in this case, I've opened the customer address list. I've told it, yes, I want to enable data connections. You'll have to do that if you're connecting to the cube. And the nice thing about this is this data is live. If you do this with a smart list, you're bringing back data that is static. In this case, this data will be refreshed each time I come into Excel when I open this. And by default, the data connection is set to not store data, so there isn't a risk of having data that's being shared with people that you don't intend to. They have to have permission to see the data before they can see the data. We also have, in this area, we have list pages and auto reports. I don't have screenshots of those, but those are summary pages. List pages are summary pages that give you detailed information about customers, invoices, sales information. There is additional information on screen, and they're clickable, meaning that you can click on a record and drill through to get more information on the report that you're looking for. Can you switch to the next slide? Please. Thank you. I didn't get there. Sorry.
That's all right. So we are just doing a little transition here between our, there we go, our PowerPoint.
All right. So I've kind of covered these here. I'm kind of working through the kinks on my laptop here and kind of left me a little out of sorts here. But we've been talking through the query on Microsoft Dynamics BI. I have shown you queues. I've shown you a little bit of Excel. I'm going to show you much more Excel here in a couple minutes against an AX cube. We've talked about smart lists. I've shown you a smart list and shown you how the smart list can be selected to control the filtering of reports. All right, next slide, please. Okay, so we're moving into the reporting demo. And so what I'd like to do is go over and show you Excel. What I've done here so we'll switch over to Excel. And what I've done for this demo is I took the cube that was generated out of Dynamics AX and I put it down onto my laptop so that I could do queries against it without having to have the entire ERP system running. So what you're seeing here is a connection to a cube. This is Excel. This is actually Power View in Excel, and it is connected to, just a moment, it is connected to a cube, and it's showing us data by sports. It's showing us a pie chart. It's giving us, it actually can animate over time. What I will do now is create a small sample report here for you to show you how easy it is to create a query against the cube in both AX and GP. So what we'll do is what we'll do here is add a new page. There we go, insert. Just add a new worksheet here. And I'm going to go to the Data tab. Let's grab another workbook here. Just a moment. New workbook. All right. There we go. So what I like to do is create a connection to the Analysis Services database. So what I'll do is I'll click on From Another Source, From Analysis Services, and it's running on my machine. So you could type dot or localhost or the host name of the machine it's running on in your environment. We'll go to Dynamics AX Initial. Dynamics has a whole assortment of cubes available for you to analyze out of the box. Those are the ones you're seeing listed here. For right now, I'm going to go into the retail cube. And I haven't done anything special. I just go ahead and say Finish. I'm going to create a pivot table report, and I'll say OK. And right now I've got a pivot table. The pivot table against a cube is very similar to pivot tables against your spreadsheets or relational data. It's just got a few minor differences. So in this case, I'm going to go grab a couple measures. The measures are up at the top with the sum symbol. So I'm going to grab COGS and sales amount and sales tax. Then I'm going to go up to the Show Fields area, and I'm going to pick the measure group I just used, which is customer invoice line. This will restrict down the dimensions down below to just be the dimensions that this particular measure group is by, or this particular cube. So it's the shape of your data that you have out there. Here we will come down and we will get a date dimension, and I'm going to pick this one out of the, put it on the filters. This is date by week. I'm going to come in here and I just really want to see a year, so I'm going to come down here and pick calendar 2012. Then lastly we'll come down here and we will pick a retail category. I think that looks interesting. Let's double check that here. As you can see, we are now looking at the data by COGS and sales amount. Sales tax had no data in it, but that's okay. That's just what happens to be in the sample data set. What's nice here is I can use the cube's formatting to format this. So I can come in here and I can say, well, I like this to look like this nice peachy color. And I can define the column formats. You know, I'd like to have dollar signs on it and get rid of decimal points. That's fine. We can do that. But it also respects our drill actions, our hierarchy. So as I drill into action sports and drill into BMX helmets, we can see that there are different colors at the different levels. And these can be further redefined if you want to customize this even further. But there's a lot of visual cues. It's a very easy report to make right out of the box. This is against the cubes that are in both AX and in GP. Okay, now what I'd like to do is go back over to Dynamics, GP, go to the demo environment I have here. There we go. We're going to go to Home. this page is very similar to the dashboard that is up on AX. This is essentially like the role center. One of the things that I like about this is the ability to put reporting services reports right out here on the dashboard. I can either put them as separate tiles. I can drag tiles around and move them around as I see fit. So I can change the layout of the report, the layout of the dashboard. But what I'd like to show you right now is actually how I can change a report very easily. Notice how this bar graph here with the gross profit for the past 12 months is orange, red, salmon, whatever you want to say. It really should have been green because gross profit being positive is a positive thing. It should be a green thing. So we hover over this and I go to Edit Report. Click on Edit Report, and what it's going to do is open up Report Builder in SQL Server. And once it's opened, it will allow me to change the graph, and I can save this, and it will render immediately here. So just take a second to open here, and it'll be up, and we'll go in and make a very small change to a setting. Basically, there's a color format we're going to go in and change. And my intention here is to give you the insight that, boy, I can take any of the reports, the 200 or so reporting services reports that is shipped with GP or AX, and make small changes to them as I need. Make them be customized for my own business needs. So all I had to do is click on the bar graph. This is just like you would probably have done in Excel. And you notice there's a properties panel on the right here. I go down to where it says color, come over here to the right, click the pull down, go to expression. There's a formula here. And right now, the true condition is set to tomato. Well, when it's greater than 0, I don't want it to be tomato. I want it to be green. So I'll type in the word green, go and say OK. I'll click Save. This will save it back to Reporting Services, and I'll say Close. Then all I have to do is hit Refresh, and my dashboard should see a green tile here in a second. There we go. And now we see that the gross profit has been made to be green. So that is an example of reporting services using SQL Report Builder version 3, and we're also looking at SQL Server reporting services at the same time. Can we show that summary slide? Thank you. So just to recap, what we've seen here is some Excel against the cube. We've seen some reporting services behavior, the SQL Report Builder to be precise, but behind the scenes it's a reporting services report that we're watching being rendered. I haven't shown you Management Reporter, and I won't be showing that during this presentation. And I actually didn't get any screenshots of the chart controls for AX 2012 at this point. So the overview so far has been show you Excel and reporting services and how you could change reporting services very easily. So now we're going to be moving on to the analysis portion of this. And that is keeping us right here in Dynamics GP. I'll show this again. Am I showing? There we go. All right. So we are in the business portal of GP right now, which is very similar to the Role Center in AX. And one of the things that I found really neat is that I can change, I've got these different reporting services reports. I have gross profit here. Down below I have payables aging and then receivables aging. And we see another report, payables summary type and count. Well, what I'd like to do is just have it up in this upper corner here. So all I have to do is go to Customize this page, and instead of having Show All, I uncheck Show All, and it will allow them to all be in one place. So now I only have 4 tiled objects in this window, and I can advance through them one at a time to see the different ones I want to look at, and I can interact with them as appropriate. One other layout that sometimes is interesting is this one, where you click the Maximize Multi-Column mode, so you're able to see a large version of your reporting services report or your other reports that you're showing or your to-do list or whatever, and you can lay down left or right, top or bottom, but it does a much larger image, and you can work down the list and see in large size what is interesting to you. Now what I'm going to do is leave GP for a moment, and I'm going to go back up over to some PowerPoint slides I have here. Yeah, let's come on down here. I'll stop on this one and render it. Sorry. There we go. This is an example of Performance Point services. This is an example of a dashboard. I actually took this directly off of a Microsoft TechNet page. I realized that I didn't have Performance Point running on my laptop right now. Thought I was going to be able to demo it today, and I hadn't installed it yet on this laptop. So instead, I grabbed a screenshot to show you. But really, the nice thing about Performance Point services, it's integrated in SharePoint 2010 and above, and it's very easy to use. I have helped many clients implement Performance Point, and the nice thing is that it's very simple. It's limited in functionality, but what it does well. As long as you stay within the box, which is what I recommend to all my clients, stay within the Performance Point box. It's a great tool. It easily and quickly puts up a dashboard and allows you to do stop lighting, scorecarding. You can also in it render reporting services reports, Excel services reports, and things like that. Okay. At this point, I'd like to take you over to Excel and show you a few other things over in Excel. So here we had shown you how to quickly connect to Excel and bring up some data out of a cube. I would now like to show you something a little bit different. So here we go. Excel has some new capabilities that have been added called Power BI. There's Power Maps, Power Query, Power Pivot, Power View. Power View's been around for a while. And it's available in Dynamics as part of reporting services, but it's now also available in Excel. And what I've got on screen right now is a query I did against an AX cube that brought back customer zip and postal code, and I basically did a heat map of the number of customers in each zip code in the demo database. And that's what you're seeing rendered here on the screen. It was actually very similar to the query that I showed you earlier, except for I added zip code to it. And so that's what we're looking at here. I'd also like to show you a feature called Q&A. We're going to come over here in just a second. This is not Q&A, but I'll show this to you first since I'm already sitting on the screen, then I'll go over and show you Q&A. This screen is actually on SharePoint Online. This is a Power View report that's been deployed to SharePoint. You can deploy your reports to SharePoint with AX2. This would work with the AX data as well as GP data. But some of the nice things about PowerView is you can filter based on clicking on the different color bars. So I can click on a product like this PCI PCX, and you will notice that the data gets restricted when it comes back. Timed out on me. Sorry about that. Let's see if we can get this back here again. So right now I'm just refreshing the data. It may ask me to log in. It may not. I didn't expect it to time out so quickly, but I guess it's been long enough here. So what we're going to do is when we click on a data bar or a pie chart, it will filter the other data on the screen. Now this is going to, like I said, this is going to SharePoint Online. This is not on-premise. This is hosted by Microsoft. And it should be here in just a second. It has to come back through and render. This is not a function actually of my laptop. It's a function of SharePoint Online at this point. And it's a function of the free service that I'm using. The production service is more robust. Here we go. Looks like it's there. All right. So what we're going to do is click on PCI PCX, and we'll try that again. And we'll notice that the data has gotten filtered down. I can also filter by region. So I'm now only seeing the data for the central region. Notice that the colors of these other circles went gray. That means that they didn't have data for the central region. So there's some visualizations here that are really cool. We can also animate this. I've done an experiment before we started here, and I realized that the animation doesn't work very well over this GoToMeeting. So what I'll do is I'll just take it, sitting in quarter 4 right now, I'm just going to slide it back and give you an idea. I'll put it over in quarter 2, and you will eventually see it changing here on screen. So this is an example of PowerView. This is showing the interaction to a cube data set. This is actually using Power Pivot data. At this point, I'm going to take us out of this and show you one last thing, which is the Q&A that's part of SharePoint Online. This will take me a couple clicks to get to, but we'll be there momentarily. So I'm going to go over to Power BI. And the data sets I'm going to look at are the demo data sets currently. They have released this product out there, and if I had a little more time, I would configure it for us for today. But today I'm just going to use a demo data set, and that data set is about the Olympics. So as soon as this screen comes back and refreshes, I'll do a Q&A for us. And basically what it is an English language query that you can write to query data. So up here in the upper right corner it says Search Power BI QA. I'll click there. And now I'm on my question box, and one of the questions I might like to ask are how many, helps if I type correctly, how many medals have the Russians won? 428. That's nice. It said, well, you're coming back with one data value, so I'll just bring you back the number. Well, all right. How about by year? Now we see each of the Russian athletes and how many medals the Russian athletes have won. Well, that's kind of interesting. How many medals, how many gold medals has Russia won versus the United States? It's very interesting. I didn't have to type any SQL. I didn't have to write any code. I just wrote what I was kind of thinking, and it came back with the answer. And this is where I want to leave you with. This shows you the power of business intelligence and where the Dynamics products can be taken.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Greg. So we're going to go back to our PowerPoint here. And you can summarize?
Yeah, sure, that would be fine. So we have shown you both in screenshots of the Role Center and interactively with the business portal. We've shown you screenshot Performance Point services, and I've tried to give you an overview of what Performance Point services can do. We've shown you data mashed up using Power Pivot, and we've shown you how to use Business Analyzer to change the layout of the data and different things like that. I think we need to go 2 more slides because I've already done the Power BI demo.
Okay, great.
And this slide here gives you an overview of what the BI system requirements are for the different features that you've seen today. So you can see that the standard edition of SQL Server and the standard edition of SharePoint, that works with the built-in AX, R2 chart controls, SSRS reports, the Role Center, business overview, the business portal. All that stuff just comes right out of the box when you buy AX or GP. As you start moving down the line to add more features and functionality, then different editions of the software are required. For example, SharePoint Enterprise Edition might be needed, or the SQL Server BI Edition, or the SQL Server Enterprise Edition. And to do Power BI specifically, you will need the Microsoft Online or an enterprise license to the Office suite.
Okay, great. One of the questions that has come in, and I would encourage the audience, now is a great time to type in your questions that you may have for Greg and Jeffrey and John. But the first question that has come in is, for AX cubes, can the cubes be customized?
Yes, they definitely can be customized. That's actually rather easy to do. You can go into the perspectives and open up the project. There's actually a wizard to do that. If you don't feel like doing that and you want to go very far out of the box, you can just go and open up in bids or SQL Server data tools. But yeah, you can customize it by using perspectives and going through the perspectives area.
Okay, great. All right, and again, here is the time to ask your questions. For the next one, it says, for the AX cubes, I believe you use the heat map in Excel. Is that heat map a template? Do I have to download in Excel the template?
Oh, that heat map that I showed you, if you're referencing the United States map, I used Power Map, which is part of Power BI. It's actually an add-in to Excel. I believe it's currently a free add-in. It might require you to have Office 2013, but it may actually work before that because it's been around for a while. It used to be called GeoFlow, but when they came out with Power BI and announced it in October, then they made it available as Power Map.
Okay, great. Well, we have a few more questions that have come in. The first one is, does Power BI work with GP out-of-the-box cubes?
Yes, definitely. Power BI does work with GP out-of-the-box cubes as well as AX out-of-the-box cubes.
Okay, great. And I'm going to switch over so that you have the contact information for our presenters here too, so that if you think of a question after we hang up on the webinar, you can always reach out to John and Greg. And Jeffrey as well. Greg will forward anything to Jeffrey. But the next question that came in is, I have Office 2010. Does Power BI work with that version?
Repeat that question.
I have Office 2010. Does Power BI work with that version?
Not completely. I believe a little limited functionality works with 2010. Really, the line is it works with Office 2013. And it's working with, they're targeting the Office 365 customers first.
Okay. Another one that just came in, will BI work with GP 2010 version.
Yeah. The BI cubes are the same BI cubes. The way you have to deploy them and the way you have to work with them will be different, but to create them. But once they're created, yes, they behave like everything else, all the other BI cubes.
Okay, good. Another one that just came in. How do I get the out-of-the-box SSRS reports?
I could probably answer that, Mary. It is actually part of your Dynamics installation disk. So if it's not installed, you can always go back to your installation disk and get the installation there.
Great. Okay. And then I think that's just about it. So we are really grateful for all of you logging in and participating in the webinar with us. I want to thank John and Jeffrey and Greg for a great presentation. And again, the contact information is here for our experts. So please feel free to email them or call them if you have further questions. And thank you for your time today. Oh, and also, just as a reminder, as you exit the webinar, you will be directed to a survey. We always appreciate your feedback on the surveys, and you will be receiving a copy of the recording and PowerPoint, a link to both of those as a follow-up on the webinar. So thank you again for joining us.